This is what I like about what we've got. You're a young Liberal. I grew up in the West. That's how I identify. I've never said that I'm a Labor voter or a Liberal voter or anything. I grew up in the West, so mainly looking for the person who's going to look out for the working class. I feel is what I'm usually going for. You're a young Liberal, which is the perspective is usually that the Liberals don't look out for the working class, right? But we get along.
I'd like to refute that.
Yeah, which you don't agree with. You don't agree with that perspective at all. And I'm open to understanding what both people want to tell me. I'm just saying, like, the public outlook of Liberals is, Labor, they look after working, Liberals don't. But that's my point. That's what the public outlook is, and based on that, we and I wouldn't have this conversation. You're not looking out for my working class people, Jessie. You're not. That's how I feel. But because we're able to have these conversations where it's like above and beyond these people who just make their political agenda or these virtuistic signalings their personality. I'm a good person. My personality is good because I believe in this social justice issue. I don't like that. Whereas,
unfortunately, there's a lot of unfair, broad sort of brushes or assumptions about political parties. Like, yes, I'm a young Liberal, but it shouldn't be a negative connotation. I grew up in the Southwest. Like, my first home that I grew up in was in Canley Vale. Then we moved to Moorebank to start school. And then we moved to Rockdale for high school as well. And
you were a Liberal the whole way through.
I was a Liberal the whole way
you
through.
You looked around, you saw the posters like, these aren't the same posters as mine.
Yeah, my family voted Liberal pretty much as soon as they could. So I think it's a very unfair assumption that the Liberal Party is not for the working class, because it is. It's the party for the aspirational people who want to better themselves and improve themselves, whether it's personal, business-wise, education, whichever it may be. I think personally that's the party that resonates well with me, and that's the Liberal Party.
If that's what the Liberal Party does, and I've got two ways we can take this conversation, but I do want to stay on this because I feel like there's a lot to unpack here. Would you say that's the purpose of the Liberal Party? Like, that's the purpose that they achieve for someone like myself or you?
What do you mean?
That what you said, they look for after the business owners, the working class. They're able to satisfy those needs that those people might have. It depends who you are and how you approach life.
I think the Liberal Party can be applied to everyone in every circumstances. There shouldn't be a class-like system approach to politics. It's quite a...
Because it's always felt very class-like. It's always felt, you got money, you go Liberal. You don't have money, you go Labor. That's how it's felt.
But funny enough, people who do tend to be a lot more wealthier tend to vote for the Greens because of environment issues, climate change, things like that. And they're able to, again, a broad assumption, these wealthier voters who do vote Green, they don't have to worry about the next meal. They don't have to worry about their electricity bill. So they're able to focus on issues like climate change, for example. And yeah, I generally think it's unfair to assume, like I said previously, or impose an assumption on certain groups of people or certain types of people, because more often than not, you'll be surprised, or hopefully not surprised, that no, they don't fit that neat model. Not all people who earn under $65,000 a year vote Labor. So it's quite an unfair assumption.
Yes. Definitely not. I mean, and that's why, like, I highlight that as the point being, it's so useful, like, to not just make your vote based on what people are telling you and how you feel based on my emotion. Oh, this person said this and they seem like a bad person, I don't want to vote for them. Read what their policies are and see how they apply to you. My dad, perfect example. And maybe this works out for you because Tony Abbott and Julia Gillard, but he voted, I think, for Tony Abbott because, and this was, and hey, forget who you side for, but his line was, because I think Julia Gillard's had enough votes. Like that was his perspective. His reasoning was because I think that a lot of people are going to vote for her. I'm going to go vote the other way just to cut. Like this was his like. And mind you, my dad comes from. I'm first generation, right? Because my dad was a refugee. So yeah, the perspective, I suppose, and the education wasn't provided for him to make that kind of educated decision. Today, for at least people that I can be accountable for, which is my young people, yourself, or people who hang out with us, we don't need to be like that. We don't need to be just voting because we feel like that the Liberals aren't for the working class because this is what the perspective that's been put to us. We don't have to vote for a certain. We actually have what's available to us to go, okay, let's look at the facts here. Who is going to help me? And let me vote for the person who's going to help me. Because, I mean, hearing that a rich person votes for Greens, fair enough. I can see why you would. Like, I can write that narrative if I was this rich person and it wouldn't impact me either way. And the altruistic things to care about the climate and environment, which is important, and I've already got the money. My next meal, yeah, you're right. My next meal is going to come. Then yes, I would vote for Greens. I don't have to worry about. If Greens came through, I wouldn't lose my next meal. Then good. I'm doing something good for the environment as well.